In this video we will debunk a myth promoted by tourist guides and others in the archaeological area of Chichen Itza. I'm referring to the supposed singing of the Quetzal bird that occurs at the Kukulcan castle. In the archaeological area of Chichen Itza, there's a tourist attraction that dazzles visitors. It consists on tour guides claiming that if you stand on one of the complete staircase of the famous base and applaud, the sound and bounces back reproduces the Quetzal song. They also tell you that this effect was intentionally created by the ancient Maya to honor the Quetzal.
Escuchen el sonido.
But is what they say true? To find out, join me in this sad story. I must be acknowledged that one of the various sounds of the Quetzal does bear some resemble to the sounds that bounces of the bass. However, we must clarify that the Quetzal has at least 4 different types of sounds depending on their circumstances. Now, is there any reference in pre-Spanish historical sources that talks about this phenomenon? So far, there is no evidence of any kind. It is necessary for us to get a bit technical at this point to explain this matter. Today, there is a field called archaeoacoustics, which falls under the domain of archaeology. Archaeoacoustics involves the study of acoustics and sound at archaeological sites worldview, seeking to determine whether certain acoustic properties held significance in ancient cultures. Throughout the world, there are thousands of places that produce sounds that this branch of archaeology seeks to understand and investigate. So, the supposed Quetzal sound at Chichen Itza could be studied by this branch. However, the reality is that this alleged phenomenon has been spread by word of mouth without any form of scientific study, to make the visit to Chichen Itza more appealing. Unfortunately, the relationship between structure, sound, and the reproduction of the supposed Quetzal song is more uncertain than true. Without resorting to convoluted or New Age explanation or ancient cultures, it is important to note that almost any sound hitting a solid surface will produce bounce. Therefore, explaining the propagation of sound is not nuclear physics. Most ancient cultures around the world understood the propagation of sound and its uses using this phenomenon for political, religious and other purposes. Pre-Hispanic cultures were no exception, with sound phenomena found in many places, including caves throughout the country. But is this supposed Quetzal sound one of them? The truth is that it's highly unlikely. Against this invented attraction, we have the following evidence. Several structures, not just pyramids but buildings in what are now called archaeological zones, produce sounds bounce. To give just one example, we have the Mayan arches. I had the opportunity to visit some of them several years ago, such as Oxquintoc and Uxmal, both in Yucatan. If you stand beneath one of these arches, the sound of your voice is amplified, similar to what happens in the domes of Christian churches. If you clap your hands beneath them, the sound reverberates, creating a similar effect, and such phenomena occur in many other structures. Now, let's focus on the specific case of the supposed Quetzal sound. The staircase is a structure that, Due to its formation, generates altered sounds bounce because the sound hits a surface that is not smooth. Therefore, the occurrence of a sound phenomenon is not extraordinary. Moreover, should be fascinated by the bounce of a supposed Quetzal's song? The truth is, not really. The attribution of this supposed phenomenon to a Quetzal is because the base was dedicated to Kukulcan, an incarnation in the Maya world of the Nahuatl Quetzalcoatl. Naturally, the base has serpents on one of its staircase, establishing a natural association between the deity, the produced sound, and the imitation of the Quetzal's song. Up to this point, with these arguments and the proven sound bounce, there should be no doubt about it. But the sad reality is, as the saying goes, he who does not know good kneels to any fool. And why do I say this? Because, just like many people applaud at the famous castle, I had visited various archaeological sites throughout my life in various parts of the country. In these places, I've conducted sound bounce experiments. Unfortunately, there are countless structures that have nothing to do with Quetzalcoatl or Kukulcan, yet the sound effect is the same or nearly the same as the one attributed to Quetzal's song at Chichen Itza. Let's put it into practical perspective. We don't have to travel all the way to Yucatan to applaud in front of the castle. We can do the same thing at almost any base with a grand staircase to applaud. Let's test this with a structure, far less important in quotes, than a base dedicated to Quetzalcoatl. So, let's go to Teotihuacan. Here, I started applauding in various places, not just at the Temple of Feather Serpent where the sound bounces. I even went to one of the quadrangles that make up the so-called Avenue of the Dead. These quadrangles create natural sound traps, causing the sound bounce to go in various directions within them. And unless the entire city was dedicated to Quetzalcoatl and the Quetzals, these places with only a few steps in height also produce sound bounce, as you can now see. Hence, this tourist attraction at Chichen Itza is generated in countless structures across the continent. Of course, one might feel a bit silly going around applauding at archaeological sites, but I invite to you do so to draw your own conclusions. This, of course, doesn't diminish the knowledge of the use of sound among these cultures, but we should avoid falling into absurdities like they do at Chichen Itza. If we follow that logic, we would have to assume that the Quetzal was known in other parts of the world. We'd have to believe that Greeks and Romans constructed buildings to celebrate this birth, with ancient amphitheaters in Europe as evidence of this same phenomena. Take the case of the Epidaurus Theatre in Greece, a structure built in the 4th century BC by Polycletus the Younger, with a capacity of 6,200 spectators. This structure was designed to amplify sound and exhibits the same phenomenon as Chichen Itza, as you can now see. So, did Greeks and Romans know about Quetzals? It is some worldwide alien conspiration? I don't know, Rick. it seems unlikely. The only certain thing without getting caught up in New Age fanaticism is that certain structures, especially those with staircases, favor sound reverberation. These structures are found all over the world and have nothing to do with the Quetzal. The similarity at the Kukulcan castle is merely a coincidence, as you have seen and can confirm for yourselves. Let's not fall for misleading explanation. And well, if someone wants to smoke some strange stuff to believe and invent these kinds of things, at least they should share the good vibes for everyone to join in.